James Stewart, more commonly known as Jimmy Stewart, was more than just an actor. He was an icon, a piece of Hollywood's soul that left a deep imprint on the public's heart across generations. With his tall, slender frame, gentle smile, and characteristic drawling voice, Stewart embodied American ideals. From an upright citizen fighting for justice in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, a lovelorn man in Vertigo, to a loving father in It's a Wonderful Life. His career spanned over 50 years with countless awards and nominations, cementing his status as one of the greatest actors of all time. Yet after the dazzling spotlight of a brilliant career, the lives of Jimmy Stewart and his beloved wife, Gloria Hattrick MacLean, ended in solitude and silence. There was no grand fanfare, none of the extravagant ceremonies often seen with Hollywood stars, just a quiet departure, almost fading from the very limelight they once commanded. What led to this sorrowful end for such an icon? And what lay hidden behind the silent farewell of one of cinematic history's greatest legends? Life beyond the limelight. After his dazzling years on screen, James Stewart's life gradually shifted to a new chapter, more peaceful, yet harboring its own quiet sorrows. When he decided to step away from the spotlight and the roles that made him famous, he didn't entirely disappear, but his public appearances became less frequent. It was a transition from a cinematic icon to a family man, an ordinary citizen enjoying his twilight years. However, age and time spare no one, not even a legend like Stewart. His health began to decline, and age-related illnesses gradually emerged, bringing physical limitations. Along with this came the pain of loss as close friends and colleagues, who had stood shoulder to shoulder with him on many film projects, passed away one by one. This loss wasn't merely the absence of familiar faces, but the gradual erosion of a world he once belonged to, a golden era of Hollywood slowly fading into the past. Each departure was a cut to his soul,
How goes things at
making
the
him feel
settlement?
more
Not
isolated
bad.
on his
Kinda
final
short on
journey through
food.
life. In this context, Gloria Hattrick MacLean was more than just a wife. She was James Stewart's entire world. Their love story was an enduring ballad, a testament to true love amidst the volatile world of Hollywood. Gloria was not an actress. She didn't seek the limelight, but it was her simplicity, sincerity, and steadfastness that became Jimmy's firm anchor. They married in 1949, and from then on, Gloria became his life partner, his confidante, and the only person who truly understood his sensitive soul. She was the one who kept James Stewart grounded, preventing him from being swept away by the fleeting temptations of fame. She created a home for him, a sanctuary where he could escape the pressures of work, where he could simply be himself without needing to act. Gloria listened to his confessions, shared his worries, and walked with him through all of life's ups and downs. Her presence brought him a rare peace, an invisible source of strength that helped him overcome difficulties, especially as old age arrived with its physical and emotional pains. She was the light at the end of the road, the reason for his daily smiles, a silent comfort in his loneliest moments. Their marriage was not just the union of two people but the merging of two souls, creating an eternal love story, as strong and quiet as their later life itself. Solitude and silence. When the stage lights dimmed and the applause faded, what remained was not just the memory of a brilliant career, but a silent battle with age and illness. James Stewart, the man who once embodied vitality and the American spirit, now faced the inevitable weakening of his body. His health rapidly declined, plagued by the ailments of old age, forcing him into a life dependent on care. Arthritis tormented every joint, heart disease made each beat heavy, and diminishing hearing gradually rendered the world around him silent. The eyes that once sparkled under studio lights now bore a weary gaze, and his once graceful gait became slow, heavy, requiring the aid of a cane. This physical decline brought with it a clear emotional downturn. It's said that in his final years, Stewart seemed to withdraw, speaking less, and his eyes often held a profound sadness, as if he were watching shadows of the past drift by. It wasn't just the sadness of someone battling illness, but the sorrow of a soul gradually feeling the encroaching loneliness, as each thread connecting him to the outside world slowly frayed. But if illness was an invisible enemy gnawing at his life, then the passing of Gloria Hattrick MacLean in 1994 was the most devastating blow, tearing apart the last veil of peace in his life. For 45 years of marriage, Gloria was not just a wife but the very breath, the heartbeat of James Stewart. She was the only one who truly understood him, a man with a strong exterior yet possessing an incredibly sensitive and vulnerable soul. She was his peaceful haven, his indispensable companion, the one who kept him grounded amidst the temptations and pressures of fleeting Hollywood. When he faced the stresses of roles, the criticisms, or even moments of self-doubt, Gloria was always there, listening, understanding, and encouraging with unwavering patience and unconditional love. When Gloria departed, not only was a wife lost, but a part of James Stewart's soul also vanished with her. The pain of that loss was immense, unbearable for a man already in his twilight years and facing severe declining health. The home once filled with laughter, warm conversations, and Gloria's warmth now became frighteningly empty, leaving behind only heartbreaking silence. Every corner of the room, every object, reminded him of her irreplaceable presence: the armchair where she used to read, the old photo frame with her radiant smile. The emptiness Gloria left behind was not just a physical void, but the shattering of an inner world she had meticulously built and preserved for him for nearly half a century. That pain etched itself deep into his sunken eyes and his every trembling gesture,
I
causing
mean, you're
even
not
those
going
close to him
upriver?
to ache as they witnessed a legend slowly fading in despair. Perhaps in the quiet depths of the night, he silently reminisced about old memories, about the happy years spent with his beloved wife, and felt the bone-deep loneliness more acutely than ever before. After Gloria's passing, James Stewart seemed to abandon all desire to connect with the outside world. He chose a life of complete seclusion, shutting himself off in his home, where the walls seemingly became his final fortress, shielding him from a harsh world. Phone calls dwindled, and meetings with friends became rare. He no longer wished to appear in public, no longer cared for praise or media attention. Perhaps for him the spotlight was too far away, and the fleeting world of entertainment held no meaning when his life partner, his most loyal audience, had departed. He found solace in more private pleasures, such as rewatching old films or simply immersing himself in his own thoughts. This detachment was not merely a personal choice, but also part of a gradual fading from memory. As time went on, new stars emerged, and younger generations of audiences knew less about James Stewart and his classic roles. The films he starred in, though still highly regarded and considered cinematic heritage, were no longer the focus of a constantly evolving entertainment industry that demanded continuous innovation. He became a part of a golden past, a name spoken with reverence, but no longer a living phenomenon. His loneliness came not only from losing his loved one, but also from the feeling of being forgotten, left behind by a world that continued to spin without him. The echoes of a broken soul, the final days of a legend, passed in almost absolute silence, leaving only memories, lingering sadness, and a profound loneliness that no one could fill. A quiet farewell. At the threshold of his 90s and bearing the profound grief of losing his soulmate, James Stewart no longer battled illness or solitude. He seemed to stoically accept his fate. On July 2, 1997, James Stewart breathed his last in his beloved Beverly Hills home at the age of 89. The reported cause of death was a pulmonary embolism, a complication of the heart disease and chronic respiratory issues he had endured for many years. Remarkably, his passing occurred with extraordinary quietness and discretion, almost devoid of fanfare or ostentation. Unlike the deaths of many other Hollywood stars, where the press swarmed, media coverage exploded, and grand memorial ceremonies were held, Jimmy Stewart's death was announced simply, without any calls for tributes or public display. There were no crowds of fans besieging funeral home doors, no live streams or sensational headlines on every tabloid's front page. Although he was one of American cinema's greatest legends, the world seemed to let him depart in the quiet dignity he likely desired. The public and media reaction, while tinged with regret and respect, also held a subdued tone. News of his passing was published, but it didn't create a seismic wave like the death of a contemporary star. Perhaps for many, James Stewart was already part of a distant past, a beautiful memory that had gradually receded into history. Tributes, though heartfelt, often came from former colleagues, veteran film critics, or loyal fans who had followed his career for decades. This difference became even more apparent when compared to the passing of other major stars. If Marilyn Monroe's death was a global tremor or Elvis Presley's departure caused boundless sorrow worldwide, James Stewart's death felt more like a gentle sigh, a door closing in silence. It reflected not only a shift in how society views and honors its icons, but also raised a deeper question. Is fame truly enduring, or ultimately, will every life, no matter how brilliant, return to its primal stillness? In that quietness, perhaps lay the greatest respect for a man who dedicated his life to art, yet maintained a humble lifestyle, far from frivolous controversies. James Stewart's solitary farewell was not a tragedy, but perhaps a peaceful end to a life journey that had experienced every emotional spectrum, from the pinnacle of fame to the deepest solitude. Legacy and reflections. James Stewart's quiet passing may not have caused an immediate shock, but the legacy he left for cinema and for life continues to resonate. He wasn't just a talented actor. He was an artist who defined a unique, authentic, and relatable acting style. His roles were not merely entertainment, they carried messages of integrity, courage, and faith in humanity. From the idealistic rookie senator in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, to the lost man who finds life's meaning in It's a Wonderful Life, to the haunted detective in Vertigo, James Stewart portrayed characters with depth, reflecting various facets of the human soul. He was an icon of an era where moral values and kindness were highly regarded, a role model whom the public could trust and admire. But more than his classic roles, the story of James Stewart's life, especially his final years with Gloria, offers profound reflections on the fleeting nature of fame and the true meaning of life. Hollywood is a machine that grinds talent and fame, where spotlights can be dazzling but also quickly fade. James Stewart stood at the pinnacle of stardom, admired by millions, but ultimately, as old age set in, that glamour gradually vanished, giving way to loneliness and the health challenges that no one can escape. His story is a reminder that no matter how great one's wealth or fame, we will all face the limitations of our bodies and the fragility of life. As a person enters the final chapters of life, health gradually declines, steps become slower, memory sometimes falters, and chronic illnesses begin to manifest. These conditions not only affect the physical body but also powerfully impact the spirit, easily leading to states of isolation and introspection. James Stewart, despite being a star, was no exception. His physical pain, the loss of his life partner, and the feeling of being disconnected from the outside world created an authentic picture of what many people face as they navigate this stage of life. The lesson drawn from his life is not one of pessimism, but of valuing what truly matters. Family, love, and inner peace, those values are the most steadfast anchors when the spotlights dim. His quiet death, though sad, serves as a reminder of the importance of personal relationships, of the care and presence of loved ones when we need them most. It is a testament to the fact that despite once being a brilliant icon, everyone ultimately returns to their human essence, facing life's fragility and seeking comfort in core values.